Hey everybody, I hope you guys are all staying healthy and safe. So I want to talk you through what we did in seminar the other day. So we were on lesson 14, which talked about all the different tenses of sum right here. So we read through this page, we looked at the vocabulary. I'm going to go through this kind of quick. And then we spent some time on this page right here, recognizing our personal pronoun markers in each of these. And I just had them spend some time making observations and trying to figure out ways to remember, how do you know if it's future? How do you know if it's imperfect or present? Anyway, I think we played a Kahoot game with these right here, and I let them have this page open in order to try to answer the Kahoot questions. Anyway, then I really introduced this idea because we're talking about sum, we're talking about state of being verbs. And so I had them go back to their foundations memory work and remember basically their linking verbs. Am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. And then we looked at this exercise right here, and I had them have their books and grab a pencil and go through and circle all of those state of being verbs, or I guess linking verbs in each of those. I think we did maybe the first 15 or so, and then we just took turns and I had them tell me the verb because I wanted to first of all make sure they recognized what we were even talking about. So this is an example of taking a look at that English grammar and getting a handle on what we're learning before we jump into the Latin. So then I believe we worked together to translate one of these sentences from exercise 176. I shared my screen and just put it on a Word document, or actually I think maybe I had a small whiteboard, and they put it into their exercise notebooks as we went through that. And then that took us to this right here, which is a totally new concept. We have a compound form of sum. So I had them try to tell me what they remember about compound words. One kid remembered that compound in science has to do with more than one, I guess, element put together. And then I asked them if they could think of any English words that were compound words. Once we figured it out, we made up this whole list of words like doghouse and bookworm, and I can't think right now, but a whole bunch of words like that. I think we came up with about 10 or 11 words. And then we talked about how we actually have compound words in sum. And so I said, do you see anything that looks familiar here? And they were like, oh, there's the sum, the esse, the fui, and the futurus, because I had them go back and look at this right here in addition to this. And I said, well, what's different? And they were like, well, it either has an ab or an a in front of it, and then we were like, well, we also have this over here. And you can see my notes that, well, actually, let me jump over to this worksheet that I made. I made the copy of this worksheet. I will post it in our Facebook page. And I looked at, I believe, these English sentences right here. I wanted to not worry about trying to figure out the Latin at this point. I wanted to start with the English and work our way towards the Latin so that they could see what was going on with the English grammar, with the words that they were actually familiar with. So I took those sentences right there and I made this worksheet. Now you're going to see the worksheet completely filled out. They had it and it was not filled out at all. So the first thing that we did was we identified our forms of sum, meaning the am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. I told them to get out their yellow highlighters. We were going to all do this together. And we just looked at each sentence one at a time. We found this verb and we highlighted it. And I said, well, if you see these words in yellow here, those are represented by the word sum, at least in this one. We're going to have different forms of sum depending on who the subject is. But anyway, and because it's compound, we have two parts together. So if you look over in right here, here's the sum, and here's the ab. Ab sum would be I am away. So away or distant is represented by the ab here. So here's our compound word for ab sum. So we went through and we noticed that every single one of these sentences had either the word away or the word distant. So we highlighted that in orange. So now we have our compound word. We have the M in yellow, and then the away or the distant in orange. After that, I was like, what do you notice about the rest of the sentence? And somebody recognized the fact that we had from in every single sentence. And idiomatically, that just happens to be the preposition. When we talk about being away or distant, we usually say we are away from something or we're distant from something. And the fact that this is a preposition, so we have this, I guess we're pretty consistent with how we mark things up, but I like to use prepositional phrases for, I like to use parentheses for prepositional phrases. So we have our prepositional phrases marked, and we just took turns identifying the object of the preposition in each one of those, and so we labeled those there. Okay, once we had our sentence kind of marked up, now we didn't technically parse it. I could have, if I wanted to take more time with it, I could have gone back and had them at least label the subject. But we did talk about the subject, we just didn't label it there. So at this point, the first thing that I did was we were going to deal with this right here, the compound verb here. The am away, was away, were away, is distant, and so forth. So if you look at this chart, again, you have to imagine this whole thing was blank. We came over here because one of the things I'm trying to train them to do is get a handle of the verb first, recognize the subject and the verb, and let's, I guess really we're conjugating the form of soon. So in this first sentence, the subject and verb is I am, so that's the sum. Every single one of these has the ab in front of it because the ab is represented by the away or the distant. So we did ab, 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 and then we looked at our different forms. So erat is he was, erant is they were, est is it is, okay, the river is or it is, same thing here. Gaul is or it is far away from you. So we got a handle on our compound verb, so that's what that's going to look like. Then we actually did the object of preposition next, all right? So we walked through each of these and we recognized, first of all, what declension it was. Is it going to take the ablative? Actually, they all take the ablative. Is it singular or plural? Anyway, so we just figured out what noun form we needed for each of those object of prepositions. At that point, we went back and we read this a couple of times and we tried to figure out what in the world they were talking about here when it says before consonants. We figured out here that if our object of preposition has a consonant, we'll use an If it's a vowel, we would use an ab. So if that's the case, we looked at all of these. 4 of the 5 are consonants. So all of those are going to have the a. This is our only vowel, and it's got the ab. Once I explained it to them, and we showed it to them, and we filled this out, we went back over here and we reread it to see if this made sense. So anyway, at that point, we kind of, at this point, we sort of ran out of time. I believe we fully translated the first 2 sentences, and then we didn't get a chance to finish these. But we have the answers here for those Latin sentences. I can post a picture. You can look at it. But you're going to have a verb form, the am away, was away, were away. That's going to be at the end of your sentence. Then you will also have a from before the object of preposition. So after you find the object of preposition right here, and then you will put the correct form of the from in front of the OP. And then you just got to fill out the rest of the sentence based on whether or not you have a subject or you've got these adverbs here that you have to add in to fill out the rest of the sentence. So I hope you find this helpful, and have a great week. Stay safe.